Good morning, good morning, good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you listening to us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CR FM, 92.9 Sister Al Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you may be joining us. Good morning to you. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Coming in here, I don't even know if to call yesterday a holiday. Every day felt like a holiday for the past 3 months. So I don't even know if to call yesterday a holiday. But coming out of that holiday yesterday into today and passing through St. George, it is in some areas kind of busy. There is a bustle here and there, a lot of lines in certain areas. So we are watchful of that, but it is still a beautiful, beautiful day in the Spice Isle. All right. I have, before we even begin, because it is, we are going to open the lines very early to start conversation. But before I begin, I must let you know that we are able to take WhatsApp calls. Yes, we are evolving. So we are able to take WhatsApp calls. We're going to try it on air today and see how that works. Remember, the number to call is 440-7377. If you are calling locally, if you are overseas in diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. And of course, our WhatsApp number to message and to call is 440-7377. So we are going to try to take a few WhatsApp calls today, along with our regulars, right? But we are excited to speak to you. Remember, we're always here to bring you information, to bring you to just talk, to converse, to hear your side, to give our side, to meet on a middle ground, you know, because that's what life is all about. As I always say, we may not ever always agree on everything, but the fact of the matter is, sometimes we just have to use critical thinking in making decisions, in forming opinions. And as long as we can have dialogue where we are able to both view our opinions respectively, you know, and I want to stress on the word respect, because in the past few months, what I've noticed more and more is that people don't know how to engage in a good argument. And an argument doesn't always have to be aggressive. It doesn't always have to end in you calling somebody's name or offending them or you know, trying to destroy their character, basically. And I've noticed that recently a lot, where you engage in conversation with somebody or you try to share your opinion on something by presenting facts, and because maybe for lack of information, the person didn't have the comeback that they want to have, whatever that or situation may be, we find ourselves disrespecting each other more and more and more each and every single day. And you know, it's very sad because all over the world, we're fighting for equality, we're fighting for respect, we're fighting for our voices to be heard. But even amongst ourselves, we don't respect each other. We don't value each other's opinion. We don't listen to each other's voices, you know, and that is something that we have to take into into context as well. We can fight for our voices to be heard by others. But if we in ourselves don't want to hear each other's voices, and what really are we fighting for? You know, they always say charity begins at home. And we find more and more each day that we condemn each other, we belittle each other, we destroy each other's character. More and more every day. So let's start at home. Let's begin by respecting one another. Just here at home first. That's where it begins, you know? And let the world see not only that we can band together in time of crisis to protest, but also that we can band together to respect each other. to want more for our brothers and sisters, to value each other's opinions. You know, let's start that fight as well. But as I always say, it's a mindset thing. We got to start changing our mindsets. We got to start changing the way that we approach a lot of things and a lot of situations. Not everything has to be aggressive, I always say. But we'll see what happens. There was news, and I'm going to read it for you quickly here, where the government of Grenada is collaborating to ensure that people in the diaspora, mainly in the UK, have an opportunity who they've probably been stuck there after COVID-19 and they haven't had an opportunity to return home. They are organizing a repatriated flight that will go to Barbados, and then from Barbados, a Liet flight to Grenada. So I'm hoping that people who are stuck in the diaspora, they do have an opportunity to take advantage. I know that the seats are limited because we are looking at all countries or most countries in the region having an opportunity to access that one flight. More will come eventually, and as government of Grenada has encouraged that more people try to band together. If you want to return home, try banding together to get a repatriated flight or a chartered flight, organized so that you can return home, since the borders are not yet open. You know, there's a lot of fine tuning to be done. We want to make sure that when we go into this thing, we come correct, basically, and that we ensure that all measures have been put in place and all things have been considered, because it's a really big step when you're looking at the wider world and you're looking at what's going on and how they have been affected by COVID-19 and how the region in itself has dealt with COVID-19. We want to make sure that whatever decision we make as a people, as a nation, as a region, as CARICOM, that it does not affect one or the other. You know, so we want to take that into consideration. So those of you in the diaspora who are pleading with us to open the borders, to make it accessible for you guys to get a commercial flight to come back, we want you guys to come home. We home is where the heart is. We can't deny you of that, but we have to be cautious, because you don't want to open your borders today and then tomorrow you have to close again. All right, so you want to take that into consideration. Now, this morning, I want to try and add my voice to a topic, to something that has been affecting us of late. And that, of course, has to deal with the bus situation. Now, there have been a lot of opinions flying here and there, people in agreement, people in disagreement with what is happening. I myself have spoken to a few of my friends that are bus owners. I have spoken to a few people in society who frequent the public transportation system. And I'll tell you this. There are a lot of different reasons why some of the busmen are striking. They're all not striking for the same reason. So let's start there. I know that the National Bus Association had a press conference, and of course they are the voice for their association, their members, and so on. But I think another discussion with the busmen need to happen amongst themselves to decide what exactly they're striking for, because I have heard many different reasons. Of course, the most prominent reason being that increase of 50 cents. And I want to add some light and some perspective to this situation. Now, mind you, this is not me saying, and I feel like I need to make this disclaimer very early, because before you open your mouth in Grenada to speak on a topic, you have people jumping on you as if your topic is gospel and whatever you say is what goes. This is my opinion on the matter. This is me shedding some perspective on the situation at hand. Now, here we have a situation where busmen were asked to carry, and I'm going all the way back to March, where they were asked to carry five persons per bus. That was part of the protocol, it was part of the procedure, and all of that. So you have that happening. Now, one of the things that I've noticed along that period, and it happened to me, so I can speak on it, is that the busmen were not complying with the protocol. They were asked to carry 5 people. Some of them were complying, some of them were not. Blatantly not complying. Their comments were, well, how y'all want us to make money? Okay, understood. Situations escalated and we had to lock down the country. It wasn't a matter of choice. We couldn't, and you see that's where that's where it's put into perspective. What is more important? Life or profit? Are we more willing to risk our lives to make a profit, or risk the lives of others to make a profit? Or are we willing to save lives? And over time, the profit will come. However, the situation of the quarantine, however unfortunate it was for a lot of people, not just the busmen, but we're talking about people within the tourism industry who lost their jobs, people, it's small businesses, entrepreneurs, hairdressers, nail technicians, barbers, all of these people were out of an income. All right? So let's put this into perspective. We have all of these people out of an income. Now, some of the busmen, including the same National Bus Association chairperson, president, and so on, these people were making an income during the time of the lockdown, because we had nurses and doctors and public servants who had to go to work. So government would have contracted them. They were making an income at the time. There were a lot of busmen home who were not making an income at all. They had no contract, they had no other means of income, none of that. The stimulus package was arranged in such a way, and I had Chanel Andrew here, and we spoke about it to length. The stimulus package and what it entails and who qualifies and how they would qualify. And she did make mention, and I wish I had that clip this morning to play, but I will get it for you, where she made mention that one of the difficulties that they were having was that the busmen were not applying. Let's call spade a spade. The busmen were not applying. Not only were they not applying, but we had situations where some of them did not have bank accounts and all of that, because checks were being issued, or payments were being issued to banks or to bank accounts to make that happen. On top of that issue, banks were also closed. Of course, they had to keep their workers in mind, the safety of their workers in mind as well. Because remember, in all of this, it's people we dealing with. It's people. Bank tellers, people. Bus drivers, people. Conductors, people. The people who travel on the bus, they're all people. The people who work in the Ministry of Finance, people. We are dealing with people, human beings. We're not dealing with machines. People. Now, I want us to look at this situation objectively. Here we have the buses now being given the opportunity after months of people asking for it. People are saying that they need to go and do shopping. There is no bus. Months of people have been asking for the buses. Now, of course, in the back of everyone's mind, you must have known that with the reintroduction of the bus system, there will be policies and protocols in place. We must have known this because we are entering a situation in the same way that we basically left it. COVID is still very alive and very around. People still need to follow the protocols that are meant to save their lives. So we had all of that happening. So we must have known at some point that when you go back into the public, when you start driving again, that there will be protocols. I mean, when you left, we were only able to carry 5 persons, and that was because of the social distancing rules. When you got back in, you could not have. I don't believe. I don't want to believe that you really thought that when you got back into the public and you started running again, that you would be able to run with a full load. I don't believe that thought actually crossed your mind, because up to this very moment, we still have business places who are only able to take a certain amount of people because of the protocols, you know? So in my mind, I'm wondering what really were you thinking? And this is for a busman to really answer. I really want somebody who owns and operates a bus to answer this question. When you were told, or when you were sitting at home and the thought of having to go back into the public became a reality, did you really feel or think or believe that you were able to go back and run with a full bus of 14 or 18 persons? Because then if that is the case, then it means that we must just take all the protocols and throw them away. Because the first point of contact for almost all of the motoring public is transportation. I jump on a bus with COVID, I sit down next to somebody with COVID, and I give it to them. You just don't know. So your first point of contact is transportation. People have to go to work. People have to go to St. George to do their business. Transportation. So you have to had known that some protocol and some policy would have been in place, because we are not in normal times. And I hate having to repeat this over and over, because this is something that should, before you wake up in the morning, you know that we are not in normal times. We are not in normal times. Things are not as they used to be. We are hoping that eventually they get back to that point, but they aren't, not just yet. You know, and in everything that we have seen, everything that we have witnessed, it's not written in stone. So my question, we have busmen saying, okay, we want a 50 cents increase. All right? Okay. Let's look at that objectively. As an individual who takes 4 buses per day, we may say, okay, well, only 50 cents they're asking for. For a lot of us, we understand what that 50 cents means. That's for some of us, it's 50 cents times 4. For some of us, it's 50 cents times 2. For some of us, it's just 50 cents. For some of us, it's more. But there are people who believe that this 50 cents is a one-off payment. So I see people saying, oh, give them busmen the 50 cents they're asking for. Now, under normal circumstances, listening to the arguments of the bus association, the price of gas, the price of maintenance, parts, insurance, loans, so on, I would have understood. I would agree that possibly an increase is needed. Now, the last increase, I understand that they would have received this in 2007 after Ivan. The last increase was in 2007. So I hear them saying 2005, but that is actually not correct. It's 2007, and a little bit of research would have solved that problem as well. So 2007 being the last time for an increase. I would probably agree that given the circumstances, the arguments are solid, an increase is needed. However, we are coming out of a situation, and mind you, fresh out of the situation, a weekend past good yet, we fresh out of it. So some people are just going back to their jobs. Some people are just having an opportunity to go to St. George to do business that they have been afraid to do for months. We fresh out the situation. Now you are asking ordinary people, and I need people to understand this. Government creates the policies or the protocols or the guidelines, I should say, that governs the public transportation system, routes and XYZ. However, when the 50 cents is implemented, who is paying the 50 cents? And that's a question I need to ask. Who is paying the 50 cents? Is it the government that's paying the 50 cents? Is it the government that has to budget an extra $20 a week? Is it the government that has to budget an extra $150 a month per person? Is it the government that has to budget an extra $2 per day? It is not. It is the ordinary Grenadians, the ordinary individuals that have to pay this extra money. And we look at it as 50 cents. But for a person like me who takes four buses a day, it is not just 50 cents. For me, that's $2. 4 buses. And that is just if I'm going straight to work and come back home. If I had to go grand dance, that's 6 buses. So you understand, it's not just, I hear people saying it's just 50 cents. It's not just 50 cents. It's a whole lot more than 50 cents for some people. And I want to put this into the perspective of the individuals that normally travel, because the voices I'm hearing is the voices of a lot of people who wind up their windows with their AC on and their music blasting, passing in their vehicles, people on the road and they don't even give a ride. I've monitored the comments and I'm seeing the comments, and the majority of the comments are coming from people who don't have to bother about budgeting at the end of the month for transportation. And mind you, this is not me bashing anybody. I'm just putting the thing into perspective from a different point of view, from the point of view of a person who travels on the bus every day. Now that's $2 extra for me. So where I would have to budget $10 a day for bus, I'm now budgeting $12 a day for bus. That's just for me. Right? Now I have kids. One soon to be in secondary school, which means that it's no longer $150 and $125 for her, it's $250. Right? So 4 buses for her is $5. Yeah, let's put that into perspective. And then I have a son in primary school. And when he would have spent, he would normally spend $5 a day on bus. Well, not $5 for her, $10 for her. So I'm up to $12 already. A day. Extra. And this is only to transport us from work to home, home to work, school to home, home to school, right? And he would normally spend $5 $5 a day on bus. Taking 4 buses. Now, I am looking at an additional $2, which is $7 to him. Do the math. It is not just 50 cents. And over a period of 30 days, 1 month, every day, having to pay $27 extra. Just think about it. Just think about it. Per day. And these are ordinary Grenadians who take the bus. People who work in the stores along the terminus. People who work in places like Real Value. People who work in normal supermarkets and grocery stores. The elderly. These are the people who traverse the buses. These are the people whose opinions on the subject are more relevant. And notice I said more relevant, because everybody's opinion is relevant. But these are the people whose lives will be affected by that mere 50 cents increase, as you guys call it. You're coming out of a situation where people have not been working. Some people have lost their jobs entirely, but they still have bills to pay. They still have to go to St. George's to buy food. They still have to go to St. George to pay bills. They still have to traverse the buses. You have the elderly people who have to daily now go to St. George to collect their little pension in the bank collect their little pension from NIS, they still have to take the buses. They still have to go to the pharmacy. You know? That $4 extra is the $4 that they probably would have budgeted to go to the government pharmacy to pay for a refill in some sort of medication that they have to use. And this is just me adding perspective to the situation, because I hear a lot of people saying, oh, bus lives matter. Nobody said that bus lives didn't matter. A matter of fact, everybody in Grenada's lives matter. You know, when we were going through COVID-19 and it was necessary for the grocery stores to open, those grocery store attendants could have said they're not working because their lives matter. When we were clamoring for the banks to open, the tellers and other people in the banks could have striked and said, well, we're not opening because our lives matter. You see, we could play around with this lives matter thing all day because everybody's lives matter. But the argument is not whether their lives matter or not. The argument is, can the ordinary Grenadian, who we are now asking to fork out this extra money, afford it? Government could say yes, you know. Government can say yes, we agree, we're going to give you the 50 cents. But can people afford to pay? Our lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377. If you are calling locally, if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. And of course, if you want to give us a call via WhatsApp, you can do that. The number then to call would be 440-7377. And let's start the conversation. Because, I mean, we have to look at this objectively, without the emotion, without the bias. Just look at it holistically. Is now the appropriate time for this increase? Because you also have to take into consideration the fees for the terminus have been lifted, right? We no longer have that $2 every time you enter the terminus. So where you would have spent $30 a day from going back and forth into and out of the terminus, you don't have to pay that. You also pay less for gas now. It's $11.00. So let's look at this thing in perspective. We have a call on the line, and then I want to ask a very important question. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I'm following your program. I am on air.
You are?
Okay, so I'm following the program and I'm listening you very attentively. And all what you are saying is totally true. But I'm listening it on one side of the table. And it goes back to saying, who are you representing? You will speak based on what organization you are representing. So we have two hands, right hand, the left hand. So just as how you would have put together, you are paying $2, which will be $6 per day if you have to get to work and back home. But if you have to go grand ends, it will be $6. So too, the busman or the transportation will incur more additional cost for maintenance, for gas, for all these things. So even though your costs increased, the busman or the transportation costs increased also. More brakes, more oil, more petrol. So the balance to get to all of that has to come down to a lot of discussion.
Okay, I want to ask you this. Very good point, right? So let's dialogue. I want to ask you this. So my costs will increase by $2, which means that instead of paying $10 a day for bus, I'm now paying $12. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, busmen are accustomed to running every day. So they understand what cost they have to pay in terms
Right.
of how much gas is going to be, how much brakes is going to be, and how long brakes is going to last before they have to replace it, etc., etc.
Right.
Right? Now, the busmen are not incurring any additional costs, mind you. In actuality, they are paying less in some areas. Now, while they may not be making the full, let's say if they were making $100 a day from 18 passengers, they may not be making that full $100 because they're carrying less people,
Right.
right? But nothing else has increased on their behalf, if you understand what I'm saying. So their gas is actually lower now. It has not increased. They don't have to pay the terminal fee. So that is also a decrease. The only thing that has happened to them, bricks did not increase. Insurance did not increase. Most of them got a moratorium, which means that they don't have to pay their loans on their buses until maybe a 3-month period, whatever they decided. So that is also a factor to look at. All that I'm saying, caller, is that in a time where the income of most Grenadians have decreased and costs for your operation has not increased, why are we being burdened with an additional cost? That's my question.
Okay, and you are speaking on behalf of the public,
Of
I
the
guess,
public, yeah.
and not representing some organization, the government.
Well, you see, in a matter like this, you can't really represent an organization because it is not an organization that is going to pay. And that's why I keep saying, at the end of the day, when the decision is made, so government can make the decision, whether they say yes or they say no. That is irrelevant. What is relevant is the fact that when the decision is made, it's not the government that has to pay. It's me, my family, the ordinary
Okay, so
Grenadians.
great. And I need a little time here to hear me. I know sometimes we only have about 3 minutes to do our calling. But from an outsider listening very carefully. So we had things like the buses, and I can't speak about the buses in totality because I'm not a bus owner, I'm not a conductor. But I understand because I'm a part of the public, I drive and I know how this thing. So for example, you have buses was out 2 months, probably 3 months. They have to now additionally incur other expense. The for those who don't have the conductors have to now have a conductor. They have to have sanitizer. They have to sanitize the bus right through now.
Well,
They are asked to reduce on the amount of people, but yet in all and then now they are going on rotation. So it means that if I was getting $1,000 a month, now I'll be getting $500 because of rotation.
which
We have all
rotation?
of that
Sorry.
that is excluded from the buses payment and just maintaining the bus expense. Remember, these people have private, they have all these other things they have to incur, not just the maintenance as to parts.
Right.
But when you go to a mechanic always charging you the same amount that they will put on the part for. So if the part is $300, they want $300 to put on the part. So you have all of that. But I'm just saying, some of the stimulus package that was supposed to roll off, from sitting where I am, and 3 of my income was badly affected. And I'm not saying it's government, but where are the stimulus package handed over to compensate these buses? Where did the 20 or the $52 million go? Where did it go to? Did it reach the bottom of the table? Did it reach the people? I'm hearing people saying they get, but if I do a survey from, for example, I do driving school in St. Andrew for 19 years now. I'm one of the oldest person there. if I go around and I do a little survey, I will tell you, nobody gets any money from that. But we were asked to shut down
Right.
for we were asked to shut down for 2 months. I do barbering too. I was asked to shut down. I also run a taxi service. So you're talking about all this income was asked by one individual, which is me.
Right.
And so I haven't received $5 compensation.
But let me ask you this, caller. Did you ever apply?
Let me tell you, yes, I did the footwork to apply, and somewhere along the line, the Friday, the matter went back to cabinet. That's what I understand from finance. And so by Sunday, we are asked to open back beautification industry, and by Tuesday, we will. So
did you let me just ask you this quickly. Yeah. Did you ever call back to clarify what happened? Because
actually,
you see, that's where the breakdown is. We always assume that things have ended because somebody said, and that's how a lot of people lose things that are for them, or lose opportunities, because we tend to always not use the correct channels, so that we lose opportunities. Now, I had Miss Chanel Andrews here on the program.
Right.
And she said one of the most difficult situations that they're in right now, especially with the busmen, and she did make mention of that, is that they know how many busmen, but they have not been applying. Now, those who received would be people who are working with taxi services, so their employer would file on their behalf, and so on. But the ordinary busmen, they had a lot of difficulty in them applying for the stimulus package.
Right. And let me tell you the honest truth. So I will sum up, conclude, because I want to give other people opportunity. I will sum up by saying how I look at this whole thing. And I don't want to bash any one organization, because all of us, even the government, everybody wasn't expecting what just happened.
Right.
So everybody has to take a little pinch out of the paint.
Right.
But what I realize is that because there haven't been structures in place, structures like organization, committees, whether in driving school, whether in the local taxis, whether in barbers, you're having difficulties. And when somebody filing on an individual, because of the link, they might get through. But I realize there's a gap between how do you reach the stimulus package. To me, is basically, and I will conclude by saying that you hang a string up in the air. 6 feet, but you hang the string 7 feet. And you're asking most people to reach the 7 feet to get that compensation. But everybody is 6 and under. And so you're saying just 1 or 2 people that will be 7 feet to get that compensation.
Well,
so we can't go on. Okay, it's like it's sounding like we have it, but you have to reach it. But you're not bringing it to a level where everybody is entitled to it.
I would disagree. I would disagree, and I'll tell you why. In conversation, and it was a live conversation, you definitely can go back and go to our Facebook page, find the video and listen to what Ms. Chanel Andrew had to say. And she's responsible for the stimulus package. And in most cases, so for example, government doesn't deal with cash. So you would find if a stimulus package has to be, or a stimulus payment has to be made, it's made via check. And that's everywhere. That's not just in Grenada, right? Even in the U.S., the stimulus check comes in the mail, right? What they found as a difficulty was that a lot of people don't have bank accounts. That's the first thing.
Right.
Secondly, a lot of people were not registered with the NIS. So in most cases, they would use, or they tried to use the NIS as a gauge of, okay, who is registered, what their employment status is, that. A lot of people were not registered. However, they did go the extra mile in terms of making arrangements with NIS. So people who still were not registered could
Yes.
apply and receive registration through the NIS. That was all arranged. But I mean, and it goes to show how we sometimes don't put our affairs in order. We spend a lot of times doing a lot of other things than putting our affairs in order. You know,
Right.
a bank account is necessary.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be with a bank. It could be with a credit union. It could whatever. It's necessary because we are moving into an age where you know everything happens electronically, and a
Right.
lot of people will get left in the dust if we don't put our affairs in order. So that was one of the difficulties that they had. Another difficulty that they had was that they had a lot of opportunities, a lot of avenues available for people to register for the stimulus package, whether it's
Right.
online, whether it's through the Treasury office in different parishes. A lot of opportunities for people to register, but they did not register. And for the same reason that you're explaining, there was a
Right.
lot of hearsay surrounding the stimulus package. So I called Peter and tell Peter, well, Peter dies what I hear, and Peter run with whatever I told him and didn't verify on his own. You know? So Peter
Right.
lost an opportunity because of something Jane said. And the thing that Jane said probably wasn't even true. But the opportunity was already lost because he didn't use the proper channel. And that is one of the reasons why I asked you if you bothered to call, because I've given the numbers here numerous times and the email address. Call and speak to a representative on the stimulus desk to find out the facts about what is happening and what opportunities are available to you, because only then can you
Yes.
really understand what is happening. There was a lot of hearsay happening, a lot of he says, she said, this stimulus
Right.
package doesn't count for me, and a lot of people took that to heart and
Right.
didn't bother to
And
follow
let
the
me tell
correct
you,
channels.
and I already conclude with I trying to cut my talk short, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that when you come back to, so for example, just driving schools and not just driving
Mm-hmm.
instructors, and even though as I speak we don't have a functioning organization,
Right.
so we getting affected, it will be difficult. It means that people will have to file in or
Right.
submit for
Right.
stimulus individually.
Right.
And so government might be saying, well, you all have an organization. How much members? How do I know? And then the back and front is almost making it like, I fed up. I ain't taking that again. So let me
Right.
just. And so there's a breakdown in terms of all these organizations, all these little individual not being together. And
Right.
yes, it's part of our ownership, but it's also part of people like people from the different ministry who have the task to ensure that they go out and record. So when we have things like that, we don't just have blaming, okay, the group of driving instructors are not together,
Mm-hmm.
but are there people in authority who are being paid every month to go out and ensure a simple thing like the San Andreas driving instructors, how much basically they are? Are they at 40 or they are 20? So we know we're working from, and I know there are people in
Mm-hmm.
transportation board. Are they doing their work? Are they going out in the field?
Mm-hmm.
Are they, okay, barbers in San Andreas?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody are dealing from the Ministry of Cosmetology or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the beautification, whatever name you give it, is somebody from government who have a responsibility to know there are 20 hairdresser salon in St. Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And are we working to them to help them to register and to pay the NIS or whatever? Are we supporting them? Are we coming out? We are the field agents
Mm-hmm.
to help these small business to get on path. So one way, yes, we have part to blame, but are
Mm-hmm.
there people who are getting paid monthly by
Mm-hmm.
years who are not going out to do the checks and balance? So, for example, if I ask the the person in charge of um, traffic in Grenville, in Grenada, the
Mm-hmm.
one responsible superintendent
Connaught. Mm-hmm.
Connaught, if I ask him how much driving instructors are there in St. Andrew, approximately. I wonder what will be his answer. And I know he's sitting on top there, but those are the things that you basically, how much buses are there in Grenada?
I'll tell you this, caller.
Yes.
A lot of the statistics that you're referring to is easily accessible. So the superintendent, let's use that example. Superintendent Connaught may not be able to tell you offhand how many there are.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that as a driving instructor, you have to receive some sort of permit, apply, or something like that, right? I don't know exactly how it works, so I can't speak too much on it, but you have to apply and get a permit and so on. That is how it is supposed to be done. It may not be done that way all of the time.
Right.
So,
and stick a pin right there because there's a discussion. And let me enlighten you. So I've been on this ground for 19 years. I've seen examiners come and go. So the examiners that I was there before them. And I see examiners who join the force are coming and, so I've been doing that for 19 years.
Right.
There has not been a structure. And I tell him there hasn't been people. Somebody from the outside could give you a close idea how much driving instructors are in St. Andrews, or because I did 19 years.
All right. Well, are you still there, caller?
But so who are doing these? Who are in the ministry? And I'm not saying the police. Who are in the ministry? Who have responsibility of noting these things? That we have driving twice per month in St. Andrews. I never see one day come up. Nobody comes up and say, okay, let me take a roll call. Let me see how we could be focused. Let me see how we could meet. Let me see how we could get you all to form a cooperation, organization. Those are what community development do. Those are what there must be people to help these little organizations to come and breast. So, the talk is right. COVID has exposed not just the government, but we expose we expose everybody. It strip us naked, and everybody could see the bad parts of all of us. So I'm not just blaming, the driving instructors or all these things. Everybody is searching for some grip of how do they look good now, and is exposed all our disorganized. And how do we go through things? People are not organized. People are not, I register my driving school, my barber shop. It's registered. But by the time you go to and from, you realizing, best I just open my barber shop and walk to make the monthly and make it do and buy. So sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
And, but I really don't want to talk too much on the air because sometimes people see things different as they listen.
But caller, here's what I'll advise, because you see, these are the kind of conversations that I love to involve myself in. Conversations where it's not just about pointing fingers at who is wrong, but about looking at situations holistically and finding ways in which we can fix it. So what I'd suggest is when the program is finished at 12, give me a call. Let's continue this conversation.
Okay, so who I'm asking for?
I'll answer the phone directly.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Very, very enlightening.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely very, very enlightening. And it's funny because we do always see that COVID has shown us a lot. It has. And even the Minister of Finance, our Prime Minister, has mentioned and taken responsibility for the fact that there are a lot of shortcomings. Nobody's perfect. But identifying the shortcomings, that's one step. How do we move forward from those shortcomings to make them better? That's what's important. We have another call on the line. Good morning.
Hello, good evening, Duncan.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, man. Well, I sit down and listen because most of my call, but I listen. And what I get some the guy make a good contribution. Be honest with you, he get a good
Yeah.
contribution. What I get in a wrong totally. What I get wrong. Some people really don't understand what's happening in Green. I don't know if it what happened. They know it's not business as usual. They don't say I don't know somebody to hold them and pound it in the head, cock one ears and pound it in the neck so that you say you could stay. They know it's not business as usual. So by asking for all these things like he raise a price and all these things on them, first thing I realize by these things is not as usual as before. So I want to know if they give me 50 cents, if after I think when they go back to a full load, if they will be returning back the 50 cents back to the people.
Very good question.
That want to be, I know this is not forever. To say, well, because the crisis, just all of us, they need to come together. Let's all of us ride the wave together. I don't find it, we know it's not a normal time, and they just give a chance to go make a run and make a run. You don't expect to make a big set of profit. But you think we come back to normal, once you open it gradually. So I don't know, what I get at is some people just don't put that in their head that not normal times. Some people feel like it's normal times and look at what the government try to squeeze them. But it's not that. We all, they say we all need together. But like some people want to be into and not others stay away from it. Yeah, then there's another issue. I from Canada, you know, 24 years, it didn't go. And she asked her, you don't follow what's going on in She was here for the Christmas. Go on there. And she says, well, only one program she listen, and I think the chemical fella there. Listening to chemical on Facebook or something so. And she said, when she always, you should take what you should say. She said, when she came here and she see how Grenada developed, she can't remember when she come to the town where they is again. She said, now, she asked him to, she asked me if they don't have no laws in Grenada to jail people like that. Because look at how he feed up for all this long time, feed up there. She spent 24 years up there. And she opened to listen to his program as the only program. I said, now there's several other programs, or after that there's several other programs. So she listened to only chemical. And she indoctrinated her. So but when she came here, she children, and she was amazed. She never know Grenada was so developed after the time Grenada was like Stone Age from Sicily. So some people have to be very, very, very careful by who they listen to and what kind of information they get.
Yeah.
Because just because she's one and a friend for over 24 years at India. And look at what she not tell me if you have laws in place to lock up people like that. You take care.
You too. Thank you so much for your contribution. And that is a question that I have. So after all is said and done and things are back to normal and you're able to carry 18 people in your bus again, will the price decrease? That's my question, because your argument now is that you're only able to carry a limited amount. Understood. When that restriction has been lifted, will the price go back to what it was before? That is an important question. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Duncan.
Good morning, how are you?
How are everything?
Everything's good.
Sometimes people asking for something, even though it's difficult to give them. I want the postman to understand that. The COVID-19 came, and everybody...
Okay, caller, can you lower the radio in the background, please?
Yeah. It came with a cost, where we bring a lot of hardship for people. Yes, the postman asking for 50.
Yeah.
You hear me better now?
You have to lower the volume of the radio.
Okay, that good?
Yeah, go ahead now.
Yeah. You see, the postman asking for 50 cents more. What I want them, you see, people don't understand people. Yes, you want people to pay 50 cents more. But then who are the people you're asking?
Yeah.
The same people that some of them, they lost their job, who work in, they're getting half of the salary. Even if it's $1,000, they're getting $500. And you're asking these people to pay an extra 50 cents. But not only 50 cents. Because you're saying, if you travel with 2 buses, that's $1. If you travel with 4 buses, that's $2. Buses plus your children,
Yeah.
I may have to travel.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
So we are not saying that the buses, what the expert is not genuine, but the boss may have to look at on the other side, how that the people need money, and some of them, as I said, they're not working. Some of them they're not working. Who working? They're getting less and half of what they work for.
Yeah.
So I want the boss to look at that.
Yeah.
That is not the time.
Yeah.
For asking for the public for workers to pay more. There may came a time where you could get it in 50 cents, but then this is not the time for it.
Yeah.
So I want the bossman to see them and think. And if you love people and care about people, they will say, well, yes, we understand the situation because every one of us is facing the situation at the same. Not only greater, but throughout this world. And asking for more, it is difficult for people to pay more. And a caring government look at people. They even look at the boss men. They look at all sector people. And they have to take care of people. So I appeal into the boss men, just be lenient.
Yeah.
Be courteous to people. And they make him matter where you might get a 50 cents.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. So be Duncan, have a wonderful God bless you.
You too. Thank you for your contribution. You know, I looked at the situation and I said to myself, we're asking ordinary people who have to go to work to make the 50 cents, to pay that extra 50 cents. But the strike is restricting some people from going to work. So at the end of the day, I mean, you got to look at it objectively. It's basically you biting your finger to try and put food in your mouth. We've got another caller on the line. I'm going to take this overseas call first, and then I'll go back to the local lines. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Duncan.
Hi, good morning. How are
you? How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. You know, something I pick up from this season of exposed to me is that system, the capitalist system. I like it, but it shows the high level of greed that drives it. And one of the reasons for me saying that is that I'm in the U.S. and they're seeing some of the companies that make the billions of dollars on the backs of the people that are working and not getting a good salary out of it. Now come COVID, there are, like, even for instance, the oil price. Oil price dropped drastically. They're still making a profit. They're paying the people the same amount. And what is happening? They're still flourishing. They're still in business. So why are you pushing the prices so high to make it so hard on the people that using the services every day?
Yeah.
So that's my contribution. Hope I can see you all for Christmas. Take it easy. Have a blessed one.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. There was a caller on the WhatsApp that was trying to get through. It's going to be our first time using the WhatsApp calls. So I'm going to advise that caller to try calling again so we can take your call. And, oh, there we go. Seems like he heard me. Let's see how this goes. Good morning. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning, caller. How are you?
I'm okay. Well, I must say that some of the points that you have given, it were basically some views basically that I had. Because to me, I'm not just someone who travels on the bus. I also drive bus also. And, even though the busmen are saying, come and support, my point is, have any of the associations helped out their own drivers or personally of the community? Because I know in one of the association, you have to make a contribution of $100 every month. And I'm not sure about the others. And they are collecting money. The associations are collecting money. Have they given back to the busmen? And that's why, like, for example, today there are so many buses out because they're saying, okay, they didn't work for the whole 2 months and, things are hard. So they have to come out. The associations didn't support them and so on. So, I mean, in terms of the associations, I think that they're not clear in terms of what they want. Because I'm hearing one association will say they want $1 increase. One will say that it's not really about the 50 cents. It's about protection and it's about wanting back their salary because the money that the government paid them is really just to pay gas. So it's like they're not really clear in what they want. Just for example, I was watching yesterday and the press conference just had the president of the Granadas Association and the vice president that made up the national committee. I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing the other association members in the national association. So In terms of, I think that it's like they are basically representing Grandans and not really the whole of Grenada. Because if I'm always seeing the persons from Grandans Association, they will more talk about what their needs are, and not really talking about what probably the number six busmen need and so on. So I think that in terms of the national association, there should be more representation throughout. I'm basically talking about the national, and in terms of the conductors, I'm hearing a lot of people saying the conductors are mandatory. If it's mandatory, it means that there are a lot of buses, for example, the number six buses, who should not be on the route, right? When I listened to the press conference last week, I did not hear the officer said that it's mandatory. He said that they will have a conductor and so on, but he never said it's mandatory, and a lot of the busmen, well, not the busmen, but the presidents and so on, they are claiming that a conductor is mandatory, but there are buses that are running, and it's not a problem because, like for example, today they are sanitizing the bus and so on. So I'm hearing they saying it's 8 passengers, but there is a paper that they give the drivers that they have in front their buses, and it gives the order in which the passengers should sit down, and it's working effectively. So I mean, it's not about the profit that a bus driver could make, but it's all about operating. It's a point in time where things are hard, and it's all about managing the money that you get. So it's not about profit. And to me, I think a lot of busmen should know that it's not about profit right now. It's about managing the money that you get, operational. Because if the government gives 50 cents, the bus drivers will have to pay back that 50 cents somewhere. Because the government will put things in place so that the government will pay back that 50 cents indirectly. So I think that they should really sit down and think about what they want at this time, because even though they get the 50 cents, it will backfire on them in some way or the other.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Listen, y'all won't believe I feel like a kid in a candy store because that was our first WhatsApp call. So guys, it's working. It's up and it's running. So if you're home and you're using your Wi-Fi and you don't have your telephone, a lot of people don't have telephone anymore, and you want to give us a call, you want to contribute, you can, 440-7377 for our local call. Miss Cammy Morning, I want to hear from you. You've been on the terminus. I want to hear what's happening on the terminus from you. In terms of buses, I know I took the bus this morning to work, and I must say I saw with my own two eyes Dr. George Mitchell at the back of the terminus, ensuring that the sanitizing station was operational. He was standing there. There was a gentleman fully clothed in what they refer to as a hazmat suit. Although his head was not covered, but he had on his mask, his entire body was covered, and he had one of those sanitizing machines that he used to sanitize the buses. I saw that. I was witness to it. So it is happening. Don't let anybody tell you contrary. I saw it. It is happening. The buses are being sanitized. So they don't have to cough up any extra money to clean and sanitize their buses because it is being done for them. Good morning, Miss Cammy.
Morning, Miss Duncan.
How are you?
I was trying, not too bad. Thank God for the breath of life. And good morning to the Prime Minister. I saw him in sleep last night, boss.
Eh?
Miss Duncan, I only to call him long.
Tell me.
To be honest speaking, the city is busy today.
I'm not hearing you.
The busmen coming out. Because the amount of busmen has come out this morning. And this was terminal. And I heard some of them with my own eyes. I see them today. The credible busmen, most of them is no credible busmen. And number 7, I see at number 7, it's number 8. You understand? And number 4, they coming out like a hole full of water, and the crab coming out of the hole.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
This individual last week, they running them out and said, shut up, sir. Yeah, now, other one from Happy Hill this morning that he running them out about the Prime Minister. And I know the Prime Minister. They're not hurting the Prime Minister. They're hurting the people.
Yeah.
That been trying over the years.
Yeah.
That they see every day. But number 7 is in operation. A lot of them out this morning. Thumbs up to them. Thumbs up. Some of them are running them out, but they're coming and they're getting the people. And they have a few, about 2 Guam. And I'd like to see more Guam bus. Because a lot of people from Guam and settle this in town.
Right.
And they need the transportation. But they're coming out. The pressure of that hit them here, they come back.
Right.
They come out one by one. Let me just keep praying.
All
we
right.
just gotta keep praying
Mm-hmm.
for that to happen. Okay, happening now.
Yeah.
So it cannot be busy in the city. And you know, we don't see it because we are the terminal. We depend on the people when they pass to their water
Yep.
and a cook.
Yep.
You understand?
Yeah.
But genuine busmen that walking, they're more walking than them are the city. You could say 80% of them out here walking this morning.
Wonderful.
That's coming from the terminal, right at the bus terminal.
Right.
Number 7, number 4, number 8, they're walking. And more will come out tomorrow.
Wonderful.
More going to come out tomorrow. They're not hurting nobody more than themselves. And they, some of them just shame. This Duncan, some of these guys are shame. But they go come in the instinct. Anyhow, good morning to everybody in America, England, Canada, who's listening to my voice. I'm sitting here. I just watch you. We're not selling anything because you don't have people here. The Grand Bus is on the other side.
Yeah.
So we as vendors, we hearing the things too, but we hanging in.
Yeah.
We holding the fort.
Yeah.
Grenada is ours. Have a good day, Grenada, and everybody who listen to me voice. Mr. Patty, Mr. Watson, putting everybody.
Yeah.
And Miss Duncan hold on, and that guy, he don't have nothing nice to say. You know who I'm talking about, the guy you heard him yourself.
Yeah.
They don't have nothing good to say.
Yeah.
Anyhow, have a good day. Buses walking. Look at number 6 coming in. One just leave, one coming. And here number 2. Have a good day, Grenada. Bye-bye.
You too, Miss Cammy. Okay. Yep, so you heard it from Miss Cammy herself. I wanted to hear from her because she's the eyes on the terminal. You know, she sees and she participates with what happens on the terminal, so she knows the buses are running. Some of them are running. We'd like to see more of them because at the end of the day, we have to understand we all need to make sacrifices in this time. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, government needs to make sacrifices. This person needs to make sacrifices. That person needs to make sacrifice. But when we are asked to make a sacrifice, it's difficult for us to do. And I wonder why sometimes. We're going to take this last call for the morning. Good morning.
Oh, my gracious. I'm so thankful for that. No, Miss Duncan, listen to me carefully, as I speak to the busmen. No, guys, we are not against you because you need us and we need you.
Yeah.
We are prepared to work with you from a civilian standpoint. All what we are saying is that at this time, the grievance that you have cannot be resolved because too many people in this country, including the government, is going through a difficult period when an issue like that cannot be dealt with at this moment. I'm not a bus owner. I have no connection to buses. But I also know that the busman is not on the same page. So all I'm saying is that the entire association, because different associations seems to have different issues.
Right.
So guys, get on the same page and approach the government in a uniform way. You know, so when when you speak for the association, it means that everybody's on the same page. Because I'm in favor of some rebate, whether it's gas, whether it's tire, whether it's part. I'm in favor of that. Increasing the price, I'm in favor of all of these things. It's up to the powers that be to work on something that is amicable, both for the bus associate, for the bus owners and those of us who travel. But all I'm saying is that take your time. Help us to get through this difficult period in our life. And then your issues will be addressed and resolved in an amicable way. But Miss Duncan, so what I'm saying is that just take your time and you will get our support when you approach this thing in a more uniform way. But Miss Duncan, do you know Grenada is among one of the top 10 countries in the world for dealing with this crisis, in a way that other countries was not able to deal with it? And this is a testimony to all our essential workers in Grenada, all. And most of all, it is a testimony to the kind of political leadership that exists in this country of ours, whereby actions and decisions could have been taken in such a timely manner that today we have no deaths, limited hospitalization, and many recoveries. Miss Duncan, do you know, give me a second here, do you know, I realize that the actions of this government to ensure that we are a secure people, I realize that it seems to transfer into a whole lot of negative political attack on this government. But I understand it because I was there before. Miss Duncan, let me tell you something. When I cannot beat you, I can't win, and I lack strategy, come on, everything becomes fair play, even when I know it is to my detriment. I trust you will have a pleasant day, ma'am.
You as well. Thank you. And mind you, I read all of the comments on the live page. So for those of you on the making, I don't want to say useless statements, but for those of you under there not contributing to resolving the issue, but personally attacking, thumbs up to you, because that's the best thing you could have done for the day. So can't expect more from somebody who's incapable of giving more, right? But as I was saying in closing, that now is really not the best time. A lot of us may agree with you. Nobody is combating whether you wanting the 50 cents or your justification for getting the extra money, whether it's valid or not. Nobody is combating that. However, when you look at the situation holistically and understand that now is not the time, it is not the correct time, where you have families who probably at this time have no one working, where you have workers whose salaries have been cut in half, where you have a situation now where people are going to have to determine whether I can take 2 buses today or 1, where you have people already sitting making decisions on whether my child has to either take a bus to school and walk home, or walk home and or take a bus home and walk to school. And these are real situations. These are things that are actually happening. The families that actually take the buses and use the bus systems that are the ones that are going to be affected by the increase. And while we say it's only 50 cents, it is not just 50 cents. Look at it on a monthly basis, where I must now decide whether I can feed my child or send my child to school 5 days for the week. And these are realistic things, not just sitting here making this thing up. It happens. Right now, we are struggling to keep our economy afloat. We're trying to resuscitate our tourism sector so that families can have jobs again. We're trying to stabilize our economy that has been badly hit as a result of COVID-19. Everyone is being asked to be flexible. Everybody's asking government to be flexible and asking government to be understanding. But when we are asked to do the same, there are a million reasons why we can't. So in my personal opinion, if the circumstances were different, the argument would stand. But right now, there are so many families suffering. There are so many people who have been affected. And if your biggest problem at this point is adding 50 cents to a bus fare to make a profit, then something is wrong with us as a people. Priorities are mixed up. So yes, busmen, your lives matter. But so does the life of the public who will be affected by this decision. Guys, it's always a pleasure speaking with you in whatever you say and whatever you do. Be safe. Be secure. As businesses open up, as transportation is gradually introduced, remember, safety first, always. COVID is not dead. We managed it well. We've controlled it well. But it's not dead. It's very much alive and around. So let's do what we have to keep ourselves safe, our loved ones safe, and every individual that we come in contact with from day to day. It's been a pleasure being here with you guys. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.